Good day, folks. This is Paul of the House of Graber on the 18th day of February, 2024, coming to you on the Memoirs of a Farmer Boy platform, the platform where we talk about real-life experiences of today concerning Revelations 18:4. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, "Come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues." My goal is to share things that possibly can bring your journey out of corporate into private, a little more into focus, and to help you along the way. And everything we bring forth here on this platform is subject to, safeguarded by, and protected under the laws of nature and nature's God, otherwise known as the ecclesia courts or the courts of heaven, lawful due process, the highest court in the universe. And this material and these messages and everything we bring forth here is also protected and safeguarded under the private registered copyright of the House of Graber. Now, this is true whether it's printed material, audio, video, intellectual property, et cetera, et cetera. And this material is protected and safeguarded under these venues, under this highest venue of the courts of heaven, regardless of where it goes. If it is something that we have produced here or that we have brought forth on this platform, and I want to be very clear about this, most of what I talk about is as old as time itself, okay? It's not something that I invented. I didn't make the laws of the universe. That's not, I don't get credit for that. What I do is I rediscover things. So this material is covered under the same creator that created the laws of the universe in the first place. And speaking of creator, the message today, this particular broadcast, is about authentic, real facts or authentic material versus fake. Have you ever had somebody try to pitch you on something, or they did pitch you on something and you get this feeling that they're fake? Have you ever been pitched on something and you bid for it and you didn't know until later that it was fake? Well, most people don't like fake people, including me. And so we're going to talk about authentic and real versus fake. Okay. Those of you who have, communicated with me or have worked with me in any way, shape, or form will know this, but I'm going to say it on here so that there's clarity about how I function. If you ask me about something, let's say, for example, you ask me about traveling, traveling in the private. How do you get rid of your driver license and how do you put your car in the private or your van or your pickup truck, automobile? Vehicle is actually, motor vehicle is such a farce because none of my cars or trucks or vans have a motor in it. They have gas engines, and some trucks that I know of and cars and vans have diesel engines. So motor vehicle is a statutory term. But if you ask me about those things, I'm going to tell you that, well, I have not, as far as getting rid of the driver license, I know a gentleman personally who did away with his license. And I don't know exactly what process he used, but I've never done that. A few years ago, I tried to, rescind that contract with the BMV, but not only didn't it work, I discovered later that they still considered it valid, and the actions of the officers on the side of the road proved that. So not only didn't it work, but I also discovered that I really wasn't mentally and administratively, I wasn't prepared to make that transition. So what I'm going to say to that is I haven't done that. I don't know of a I don't know of a bulletproof way, or I don't even know of a way. I haven't done it. I've heard a lot of people talk about it. Talk is cheap. I've heard people talk about it as if they knew how. And I've also heard people just, asking questions about it, but I have not done that. Okay. My point is, if I haven't walked it and if I haven't done it, I'm not going to try to act like I have the answer. I may have some ideas about how I would approach doing whatever you're asking about, but I'm not going to tell you that this is how you do it, and all you got to do is this, and then everything will change, and it's the magic pill, and boom, done. That is, that's just not how I roll. Now, if you ask me about putting a car or a truck into private, at this point, I can tell you that I have done that. And it was actually, I was just looking on my records yesterday, and I think, if I recall correctly, it was in October of 2022, over 2 years now. Sorry, over a year, going on a year and a half, that I removed the state plate and I put my private plate on my car. Now, that's not all I did. There's way more to it. And there's records to be put in place. And there's things that you want to have in place before you do that. But I can tell you that I've done that, and I've traveled in many states, thousands and thousands of miles since that time. Minnesota, Wisconsin, Illinois, Iowa, Missouri, um, down south, Texas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, Arkansas, Kentucky, Ohio, Virginia, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, Maryland, Michigan. I may have missed a few, but I've covered a lot of ground with that car with my private plate. It's a plate that shows that it's registered under the ministry, private ministry that is held under private foreign trust. And I have been pulled over one time since I've made that switch. That was only recently, like beginning of this year, I believe, in January, just down the road, about 40 miles from my house. City officer from the town of Winamac, Indiana. And it was a short and sweet stop. He was this cop, probably 30 years old, I would have guessed. He was extremely respectful, and he asked me a few questions. I gave him my credentials, let him know that I'm in a non-commercial capacity. And he was barely in his car long enough to close the door, and he was back up, and he said, "You're good to go." And he said, "Oh, by the way, your light above your plate isn't working. You might want to get that fixed." And I said, "Well, thank you. I didn't know it wasn't working. I'll check it out." But it was no issue, no issue at all. Um, and I'm not recommending that you do that. I'm telling you that if you make that move, you want to be settled about what you're doing, um, which I am. I was very settled about what I was going to do, and I was willing to walk it out. And because this officer said, "I just noticed that your plate was very unusual." I said, "Yeah, it is. It is kind of unusual." And I actually think he was trying to get more information so he could do the same thing. I don't know, but so I can tell you that I've done that, and I can show you how. I can show you the paper trail, and I can show you the results. So it's not a question anymore of whether it works. Typically, what happens when officers come up behind me, they'll hang behind me, or if it's a 4-lane highway, then they'll hang over in the passing lane for a little bit, and then they'll take off and go like a madman to pass me. And I've had them come up behind me and turn their lights on and switch lanes and pull somebody else over right beside me. It's just weird behavior. And so I've also been on platforms where somebody else was teaching, where the comment was made by that teacher that putting a private plate on your car is one of the dumbest things you could do. Well, I'm going to tell you something. Making a statement like that, a general statement like that, is one of the dumbest things you could do, because all that told me is he has no freaking clue what he's talking about. Now, for many people, it would be not very smart to put that private plate on their car, but I'm not many people. I'm one of those guys who is willing to go where other men and women aren't willing to go. And I'm not the only one that's done that. I know there's others that have done it kind of almost the same that I did. I've got a friend who all his pickup trucks and SUVs and everything they've got in their house is under private plates. And he's done a similar thing that I've done, kind of his own style, but he's been pulled over and treated respectfully. So when two things, when people act as if they have the answer to do something and they haven't done it, that's a fakery. That's fake. And when people tell me that something is dumb or it can't be done, and they're talking to a guy that has already done it, that is extremely fake. People open their mouth and say stuff and are absolutely freaking clueless. I've done it. But on a public platform at this point in my life, not only in public, but in private, I try to be very careful about that. If you ask me about something, I'll tell you if I haven't done it. I don't know, I don't have the answer, but here's what I might try if I would do it, but I'm not guaranteeing anything. I wouldn't guarantee it for you, even if I have done it, because I don't know what you're going to do to mess it up, or I'm not in your place mentally or emotionally. And I don't have your experiences in life, so I can't guarantee anything. So there's something that I'm going to give you now as a little tool to put in your belt as you go through this maze of rabbit trails and tunnels of looking for truth. Might want to write this down. Of course, you can go back and listen to the recording again and again because it's going to be on the Rumble channel and on Spotify and possibly even on YouTube. Um, I've been in marketing or sales or in some fashion of that for ever since I was about 12 years old. Back then I would go out and I sold greeting cards for this one company. I didn't get money. I got stuff, stuff that young boys like model rockets and softball mitts and stuff that's very, very nice to have at that age. And really at any age, depending on who it is. So they had, the model rocket set was so many points. Baseball mitt is so many points. They had a bunch of different stuff in their catalog, in the, book. And then they had catalogs of different types of greeting cards, a box of birthday cards or get well or whatever it was. And each box that I sold racked up X amount of points, whether it was 2 or 3 points, I'm not sure anymore. I would go knock on doors and show this card catalog to the ladies until I had enough cards sold to get the prize that I was going after. And then I went and put in my order, delivered the cards, forwarded the money to the company and delivered the cards. I made the rounds back to the people that I sold to. And then I got my prize, whatever it was that I had worked towards. So I delivered what I promised, is what I'm saying. And since that time, I've had several of my own businesses, and I started the first business that I had to speak of was a feed mill that my dad had started way back the year I was born. And I bought that and I ran it for almost 20 years, between 19 and 20 years. I started inkjet, ink tank refill business. Remanufacturing is what they call it. Started that from scratch. Had that for quite a few years. And there again, I delivered when I got orders. I delivered what I promised, and that is either your satisfaction and these work the way they're supposed to, or you get your money back, or a replacement, whichever you ask for. And then I've also been with a very large North American-based manufacturing company for since 1995. Not only American-based, it's American-owned, and it's privately owned. And it's one of a kind. There's no other company like it. I don't care where you look. It's one of a kind. So I've in that business, which is a type of business where when someone opens an account that you refer them, you get paid over and over again. And through all this, I've been exposed to a lot of MLM gurus, the type that are a dime a dozen, and they try to shove something down their throat down your throat just so they can get a check. Whether it's something like that or whether it's somebody coming to you trying to sell you a package to live in the private. Here's the acid test question. Here's the tool that I'm getting to. You ask them one question. In 6 months from now, in 1 year from now, in 5 years from now, in 10 years from now, are you still going to be using purchasing? Now, if it's a network marketing company, it would be purchasing products or services or both. Are you still going to be purchasing those even if you don't get a check? I can tell you that about 90% of the time, I'm talking on a conservative basis, it's probably more like 99%. But I'm going to say at least 90% of the time, the answer is no. If they're honest, it's a definite no. They're not going to be using whatever they're promoting. Well, if the answer is no, I would recommend you run away from them or you chase them away from you because it's a ripoff. Okay? If it's real and if it's authentic. Now, I want to be very clear. I have no problem getting a check. I like that part. We should get paid for the work we do. And no matter who it is, if you provide something, there should be an exchange, an equitable exchange. But I'm just telling you what I know, that most of these people, if their check doesn't come in, if they don't make money, in other words, the product won't sustain itself, or the service, or both, whatever it is, it won't sustain itself. So really what you have in most cases is a Ponzi scheme with a product attached. Matter of fact, I was on a conference call. Over the years, I've listened in and I've watched a lot of presentations with these people, and I'm kind of crossing over on a different area of my life, but I'm telling you, it's all the same. Whether it's somebody pushing a package or a process or a class for you to change your status or whatever the heck it is they're trying to promote. It's all the same when you sit back and you look at it. Okay. So years ago, I was on a conference call where these gurus were pushing a Ponzi scheme. It was a self-development course. You pay $750 for the package for your home study course. And then for a weekend event, they wanted, I think it was like 15 or 2,000 or $2,500. I'm not sure. And then there was a 1 week event, the ultimate, the big deal, which was over $12,000. This is what the guy said, because he was getting some questions at the end of the call. And I know what background they come from. I don't know the people, but I knew what background they come from and where this hinges on. 5 minutes into the call, I can tell. Every time I listen to those, there's a certain clique of people. They all come from the same company originally. It's just disgusting. But he said, our compensation plan has a product attached to it. What that means is our compensation plan is a Ponzi scheme. It's an airplane. It's fake as hell. But we attach a product to it so we won't end up going to prison. That's what he's saying. Now, there's people that do that stuff. I'm just not one of them. And I never want, I'm not planning on being one of those. So the acid test question, here's the tool that you can carry. Just remember this question. in 6 months, 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, however long it is, are you going to be using or purchasing and using or utilizing or practicing or whatever it is, the thing that you're promoting to me, even if you don't get a check above and beyond that? If the answer is no, you want to run. I mean, be sure that you stay in good shape because you want to run fast, is what I'm saying. Now, in the rare occasion, there are companies that the answer would be yes. I've seen them, and they're good companies. If the answer is yes, if it's truly is yes, then it's worth looking at and checking it out. Not saying it's something you want to get into or participate in, but I'm saying it's safe to look at. The others aren't safe. So likewise, when somebody says, well, all you have to do is pay $3,000 or $500, or I was looking at a guy's stuff several years ago. He was wanting $1,500 for a package, a course of what it's and the guy's I don't even know where he's at. He was a double agent for sure, crooked as a dog's hind leg, and he took a lot of people's money. And he told me that he had a paper trail to back up what he's doing, which was a blatant lie. Absolute blatant lie. And I never paid him anything. I was one of the lucky ones. I was one of the lucky ones. There was a couple other people that was ready to drop the 1,500 based on my word because they trusted me. If I would have said, let's do this, they would have, so there's 3 people, and that would have been 4,500. And I know he took thousands and thousands of dollars from other people. And I'm just going to say Mr. Weiner is a snake. He's a snake. So he lied to me on several occasions, and that was one of them. So if people, it's the same question. If they come at you with a package or something that they're promoting, I want to be very clear. Again, people should be paid for their time and their effort, but they shouldn't lie to you. There's no, the truth is good enough. The truth is good enough. That's all we need. And so ask them, are you doing what you're trying to tell me that works? Have you done this? And if they get squeamish and go sideways, then you have your answer. Just saying. And even if they tell you, oh, yes, definitely. Well, I'll tell you what I did with this scumbag CIA agent that tried to sell me that package. He's one of those that Trump would classify as a swamp creature, bottom feeding swamp creature. I wrote him an email and I said, I want to come down and he was from New Mexico, supposedly. I don't know where he is now. He disappeared after he got a bunch of other people in trouble, sold them down the river. It's a railroad job. But I said, I'll drive down to New Mexico. I'll come to your office. I put this in an email to him. Or I can meet with you wherever, and I'll sign a non-disclosure. No problem. That was in the fall of 2017, and I'm still waiting on an answer to my email, Mr. Weiner. Still waiting. Won't ever happen because later he admitted on a phone call, on a conference call, that he's took the money that people gave him and he's trying to figure it out. They're doing the research, trying to figure out what they're doing. Now, I don't know which is true, but I know the first one wasn't, and maybe not even the last one. So ask, when people, I don't care if it's me or who it is, ask them, have you done what you're telling me? I want to see the proof. I want to see some kind of record. Now, on the flip side, don't expect for somebody that's the real deal to just go spreading stuff out to people who ask questions because they just want to nose into your business, because that's not safe either. So there's got to be commitment. There's got to be skin in the game on both sides. There's certain things that you would have to do before I would send you anything. Okay, because there's also scammers and double agents and crooks and swamp creatures that act as if they wanted to learn. But meanwhile, they're trying to sell you out to the evil side. They're trying to get you in trouble. I know how that works. I've been through that route. I've been down that gamut. They are very despicable. So I'm going to say it's all worth it. We just get to be aware and have our eyes open and our ears open. And sometimes I've been very slow in catching on, but eventually I caught on. Other times I've been a little bit quicker. So remember, the question is, whatever you're trying to pitch me on, are you practicing what you're preaching? And will you be practicing what you're preaching? Or is it just about the money? Because if it's authentic and real, then the money will follow. That's automatic. If it's fake, then I wouldn't want to be in those people's shoes. Anyway, hope that helps. Go ahead and click on the link in the description, memoirsofthefarmerboy.com, and like this video or the podcast, wherever you see it on Rumble, YouTube, or Spotify, which will support us in continuing the work that we do. Have an amazing day. Until next time.